Hello, I'm Ashley. This is Kyle. We're back for another Lakeside chat. We've probably got another maybe month or so of these before we have to move indoors and go to the fireside chats.
But well, we haven't had a Lakeside chat for 3 months.
Was it?
Maybe.
I don't even remember where we were
it seems like we were in the office because it was raining or something. Yeah,
bad weather.
Yep.
So today we have an interesting topic. We've had a few phone calls about it, so I thought I'd address it. Screwworms. So you may have seen in the news that we had an incursion of screwworm into this country back in August, I believe. So we had a couple calls about people concerned about it. So we thought we'd just kind of do a little video on it.
So what are screwworms and how do they affect pets?
So screwworms are a maggot, basically. So a fly lays eggs on the animal. These eggs hatch. Usually these eggs are laid around an already existent wound or mucous membrane, and they hatch and they burrow into the tissue. Screwworms are really unique. Most maggots only live in dead flesh. These will actually tunnel through into healthy flesh, into living flesh.
Hence the screwworm part.
Yeah, and they look like a screw if you look at them, kind of. You know, it's kind of gross, yeah.
I'll see if I can find a picture and post it up here somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
So what type of animals are at risk for screwworm infestations?
Classically, it's livestock, and it's a tremendous loss. They can live in about anything, but usually it's livestock that basically that can cause these horrible, infected, debilitating wounds, and that eventually can cause death, or that cause the animal to be destroyed. So
how do pets or other animals get screwworms?
So typically, your average dog and cat, first of all, screwworms were eradicated in this country in the 60s. Until August, and that was actually a human, which is, I'm still wrapping my mind around that one. But they picked them up at customs or whatever, and so, contained it right away. So what they want to do is find these cases and basically prevent those maggots from pupating and hatching, because we don't want screwworm flies in this country. Cochlea is their name. So basically, flies have to land on a pet, lay their eggs. Those eggs have to hatch and burrow into the skin. So the average dog and cat, or even if we had screwworms in this country, which we do not, are so low risk. Basically, most healthy dogs and cats are going to let flies land on them anyway. They snap them away. If you're petting your animal, you'll see these like weird yellow rafty things on there and go, oh, what is this? So
we hope.
Yeah, we hope. So typically when we see maggot cases, they're very few. Very seldom do we see them, thank goodness. They're usually in older, debilitated animals that can't care for themselves very well. Dogs and cats that spend a lot of time outside. Dogs and cats that have a really matted hair coat. They can't feel flies land on them, or they're too debilitated to care to snap the flies away. Right. And we add those in combination. Then the matted fur gets wet, or gets a small skin wound, or gets a little tumor, and then they get flies on it, and just a lot of bad sequelae happen.
It's such a pleasant topic.
It is. So
yeah.
Most animals, and average pets aren't going to have that as an issue for the most part. So
you kind of talked about if they were dangerous. And they are.
They are.
They're just very uncommon, right?
Very uncommon. Maggots in general are kind of uncommon in dogs and cats, unless I have those cases I just talked about. But screwworms officially are not they're not a population in this country. So
we've never seen them.
No, we've never seen them. I've been doing this 30 years. I've never seen a screwworm.
We have seen maggots though. Yes.
Yeah, we've seen maggots, and the screwworm kind of looks like a corkscrew, and it has 3 little nasty teeth on the end of it. So that makes them, kind of.
Is it like the pointy end or the other end?
I think it's the pointy end. Yeah, they have 3 little projections that look like little sabers, so that makes them identifiable, kind of. So
I will find a picture.
Yeah, they're gross. Yeah, they're gross.
They're gross. They're so gross. They're cool.
Yeah, kind of, maybe.
For us anyway.
In our experience, usually there's an infected wound that maggots are a part of, and that's typically not a screwworm type of, kind of scenario, but we're always kind of thinking it in the back of our mind. Although
you never know.
Yeah, you just never know. But yeah, we look at them and go, oh, this doesn't look anything like what the book shows, because they're not in this country. But
good. Can they affect other animals or humans? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Is it rare with humans? Because obviously humans would have their wounds covered, I would think.
It's pretty rare. I don't know. It's endemic in like the Dominican and some, kind of the Caribbean islands. It's in South America. It's contained to South America. I don't know what the incidence of human disease is. Like I said, you need some sort of wound or something to get them.
Yeah, and you wouldn't think people would walk around with that.
I wouldn't think so, but I'm not sure. It's been moving up into Central America, so I think they're probably going to have to increase their efforts for control. And the control is actually really interesting. So what they do is they breed male flies in the lab, and they expose them to gamma radiation, like the Incredible Hulk, to sterilize them. And then they release them, and then they breed with the female flies. And the females lay eggs once and die. So then they lay sterile eggs, those eggs can't hatch, and then they die. And that eradicated it here in the United States. And they developed, I think, that in the 50s. So that's kind of how they had controlled. We had done a joint kind of eradication program, I think, with Mexico and Central America. So they're probably going to double down those efforts. So, and on our border, they inspect the livestock, anything coming in, looking for wounds. And they actually have screwworm sniffing dogs out there, like in customs and things like that.
Well, they can sure smell the wounds. I imagine they can pick out a screwworm.
Yeah, for sure.
So how do you differentiate between a screwworm and a regular maggot?
You'd have to look at it under the microscope. Yeah, and if you suspect anything, you would, basically throw some in a bottle and call, it's a reportable disease, definitely. So you'd call the state veterinarian, and there's
are they like maggot size?
Yeah, maggot size.
Yeah. So what should I do if I think my pet has screwworms?
You would want to have your pet examined. The chances that it's really screwworm is nil. The most common maggot that we see in pets is, and that's even not super common here in Statesville anyway, are Cuterebra. So those are like little maggoty larvae that they're not in big tassels, they're little single larvae that burrow in. I'll see them in kittens periodically and puppies periodically. But they tend to, these are flies that lay eggs around rodent burrows, and then they hatch and burrow into the rodent, like the squirrel or whatever it is. Periodically they get into kittens and puppies and things like that, but that's not super common either. And I think a lot of it is puppies and kittens aren't grooming, and things like that. So they're pretty naive, whereas older animals, that's not the case. So
somewhere I have a movie with or a video with the Cuterebra.
Yeah.
But it's probably too gross to put on YouTube.
They're kind of icky, but that's probably the most common scenario. But otherwise, we see sporadic maggot cases, and they're not screwworm, so they're just...
Yeah. So how can I prevent it?
Well, keeping your pet very well groomed, keeping your pet in as good a physical health as you can, regular vet visits, and just keeping in mind, some dogs that won't allow you to, like a chow chow, for instance, that doesn't want you to groom them anymore, and they live outside a lot, you might want to consider shaving that hair, and getting it off of them, because they can't feel flies. A lot of these older dogs just kind of lay there and sleep, and, it's hard for them to get up, and they don't realize that flies are landing on them. So just basically routine veterinary care and keeping their coats groomed, and put your hands on your pet every day, which most house animals are like that. So
Chow's hair are so it's so thick, and it's so hot, and then they get the hot spots, and then when they get the hot spots, then they stand more of a chance to get maggots and things like that.
Myiasis or fly strike. And the double-coated breeds and the thick-haired outdoor cats are definitely the higher risk groups for sure.
So what treatment options are available for screwworms?
For screwworm, physical removal, and then Capstar, oddly enough, actually kills them. You still want to get them out because they're dying in that wound.
So how far do they go in?
Yeah, I've seen pictures of just huge ulcerous caverns. So yeah, they go in pretty deep, I guess, but I'm not sure 100%. So I'm glad I won't know.
If you're interested, look it up, but we're not going to put those gross things up here.
Get on USDA aphis and type it in, and you'll get a whole slideshow. So no worries, no worries.
So how do they affect animal? I can talk. How do they affect animal populations in a place? Can they?
Yeah, I would say
decimate them?
I don't know. I just think they're just a tremendous livestock loss, you know, for people that raise livestock for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, and these wounds get huge and gaping, and they get infected, and you know, a lot of times these animals have to be destroyed. So you know that's you know, if you raise goats or raise cattle, that's like a big deal. So.
Well, now the big $1 million question is, are they common in North Carolina?
No. No, probably not since 1965.
Oh, that's way before my time.
Yeah, and then like also Advantix on its label has some kind of fly repellent advantages for the first couple of weeks. So it's out there for some of these outdoor dogs if you wanted some sort of fly repellent. It's not a replacement for keeping the coat up and things like that, but you know, that's, you know, it's got that label too. So.
Yeah, like she says, get your hands on your dogs, feel them all over for lumps, bumps, wounds, skin problems. Don't let it go. And that's when things like this could happen.
I don't think I've ever seen maggots in a house pet.
No,
I've
it's
never
always
seen that. It's usually almost
outdoor
always
cat, outdoor dogs.
Yeah, outdoor, and they're usually shaggy and kind of older and
not well maintained.
Yeah, and it's kind of sickly a lot of times. You know, so.
Like you said, not getting up and moving around much, and just like a yummy target for these nasty things.
Yeah, well, in the news, everybody gets a little panicky. So,
well, I mean that,
we definitely don't want screwworms in this country for sure. But
no,
you know.
If you see one, it's serious and it needs to be taken care of right then.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It needs to pass away.
Yes, die screwworm. So, sorry, we love animals, but we're not so crazy about the screwworms. So
no. So anyway, kind of a weird topic, but it did segue into, we do see myiasis or, you know, fly larva infestations periodically. So, you know, so you can pay attention to those things, but most people aren't going to see it. So, yeah.
But now you know one more thing about animals.
That's right. That's right.
Ours is to educate.
Yes. So if you
inform.
If you think your pet has screwworms, give us a call and we're happy to look at your pet.
We promise we won't make fun of you if they're not.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right.
Better safe than sorry.
There you go.
All right. You have a great day and we'll see you next month.
Yep.
Bye.
It might be too cold for her to be out at the lake, but I'll be here if I can.
Yeah, no, I'll just have another layer yet.
Yes, that's true. Bye.
Parka.